How are you doing, Suns fans? Seriously, how you doing? Welcome to another edition of the Suns Jam Session podcast. It is a post-game pod, although the game did end a few hours ago. We once again had a doubleheader between the Phoenix Suns, or with the Phoenix Suns and the Phoenix Mercury, as they are playing in the WNBA Finals, Game 2 at home. It actually just went to overtime, so you will get live updates as you watch this pod along live with us. If you're listening to this pod tomorrow, you already know the results, and you're going to hear how we navigate those feelings as that occurs. But I bring in my podcasting partner, Matthew. How are you doing this evening? That's a beautiful background. It looks like you're coming to us live from the stadium.
I am live. Actually, Dave King is right next to me. So we're hanging
yeah?
out here, having a couple brewskis, got some Coors Light over here. So having a good time. Dave, want to come in and say hi? Oh, he's shy. I forgot he's shy, dude. So he's not going to show up.
That
And he doesn't
David
like
King.
Me, so.
He's such a shy guy. Well,
yeah.
Welcome to the podcast. You watching this Mercury game?
Yeah, it's on in the background. Let me actually mute it a little bit. In the background, just like you were watching the Dodgers the last podcast. So we'll be watching this game as we pod.
Yeah, hopefully it turns out nice for him. I mean, it's looking like a great game. Brittany Griner, I mean, just watching her play is just – I love seeing a player like that. It reminds me kind of like Mutombo, who's just aggressive on defense. There was one play where she had an and one, and she just started pretty much just laughing at the defender.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I love that shit.
No, she's great. This whole team is awesome. And what sucks is like I really missed out on a whole season and a whole 20 years of really watching them, which is really disappointing. It's just the way it is. But what's awesome is the more and more of these guys, especially in the NBA and the Suns team, are pushing us to watch them. It seems like a bad thing to say, but it's not, because some people, if you push someone to watch a TV show, it takes them forever, right, to actually get to the TV show to watch. Sometimes it takes a year. So I'm just saying that the more and more that this is put in front of us, we're going to watch it. And next year I'll be watching whether or not they win this series or not.
Well, you're going to have to remind me at the end of the show about TV series, because I got a couple questions for you. So that's your responsibility. Put that in the notes.
Down right now.
There you go. So at the back end of the pod, I've got a couple questions about a TV series. But we welcome everybody to the Suns Jam Session podcast. He's Matthew. I'm John. And you can't spell jam without John and Matthew. Thus the name of the pod. If you're listening on the podcast, please subscribe, rate, and review wherever you're at. If you're listening on the good old Apple Podcast, go ahead and leave us a review there. If you do, we will happily read it right here on the show. And Matthew, we actually have one that I wanted to bring up. This is a 5-star review from Suns fan in ND. So I'm assuming that's North Dakota, not Notre Dame. He says, my favorite tradition of this show is swears for kids. Can't wait for the season to start. He's clearly referencing the old solar panel.
Oh, okay. I was like, that sounds familiar, but now that you say that, okay, I remember that.
Yes, swears for kids. Diana Taurasi just hit a deep fucking 3. That's sick.
All right, yeah, and I am lagging behind you too.
Yeah,
so.
I'm watching it on cable television in a hotel room in Reno, Nevada. But if you're watching the show, please hit that thumbs up button. Please subscribe wherever you're at. Plenty to talk about on this podcast. Obviously, we're going to continue to reference the Mercury game, and we're going to talk about the Suns game against the Portland Trailblazers, the last game of the preseason. Matthew, we are 1 week away from regular season basketball. How you feeling, man?
Oh, I'm pumped. I am ready. I'm watching these boys on the sideline right now at the Mercury game. I cannot wait, dude. Contract or no contract, let's go.
Yeah, amen. Well, and that's a part of this conversation. We'll be talking about that as well. So cheers, everybody. Matthew, I know you're going to pop one open because I don't have one. I got a bottle of water. All yeah, right. I am Matthew.
You are traveling, man. So ready for this?
Oh, yeah. Good pop.
Dang. That was pretty good. That was nice and solid.
Yeah, it sounded like you broke a knuckle. Are your knuckles okay?
I think I'm getting like really, really strong. I was holding my niece the other day, and I was holding her for actually more than a minute, and that's more than usual. So I'm just really strong nowadays.
It comes from popping all those beers. So on that note, we're going to go ahead and kick off this podcast and talk about the last preseason game of the 2021-2022 season. Cheers. So the Phoenix Suns absolutely destroy the Portland Trailblazers in the last game of the preseason, winning by a total of 45 points. 45 points.
Yeah.
45 points. So therefore,
Matthew, I got to ask.
Matthew, I gotta ask, when you watch a game like this, does winning by 45 points change any perception you have of either the Phoenix Suns or the Portland Trailblazers?
It does not, but not too long ago was the Trailblazers doing this to the Suns. All right. So I know the Trailblazers have their own thing going on with like trades. Well, I think they kind of seem settled a little bit, but you never know with that team. They need to make something happen. So maybe they're just sick of it, but it tells me a lot about the Suns just taking care of business and getting this game done so they can get ready for the Mercury game. That's what it seemed like. That's when I saw the final score because I was unable to watch. It wasn't like I was working today. I actually got sick, the little headache. So I went home and I did not get to watch it. But when I saw the score, I was like, okay, they just want to get this one done, right?
Yeah, it's a preseason game, and even though it's a 45-point win, there's obviously a lot of positives that occurred, and we'll talk about some of those positives that happened for the Phoenix Suns and a lot of negatives that occurred for the Portland Trailblazers, and we'll talk about those negatives. But in the grand scheme of things, like, it truly doesn't matter. I don't know if you saw this tonight, but the Dallas Mavericks beat the Hornets by a score of 127-59.
I did see that. Yes.
So it really doesn't matter what the final result is. What does matter is how the Suns got there on offense, knowing that on defense they weren't really doing much. The Portland Trailblazers weren't showing much. It's the last game of the preseason. And, when you just simply take a look at how some of the statistics played out in this game, the Suns shot 49% from the field, whereas the Blazers shot 29.8%. The Blazers were 6 of 39 from deep. That's 15.5%, whereas the Suns shot 16 of 41, good enough for 39%. So they simply just outshot them. The Suns out-rebounded them by 10. They out-assisted them by 18, 30-12. And when you look at the fast break points, it was 14-4 in favor of the Suns. So pretty much in every facet of the game, the Suns were just clicking. And I wrote the preview for this game for brightsideofthesun.com, and that's essentially what I said in my prediction was the Suns will win a preseason game that doesn't matter simply based on the fact that the depth of this team goes 3 levels deep when you consider that our third level includes the likes of Elfrid Payton, somebody who in this game ended up posting nearly a triple-double. I mean, Elfrid Payton had 8 points, 9 assists, and 8 rebounds in the 24 minutes that he played. And when you have a team that is as deep as the Phoenix Suns, when you're playing a meaningless preseason game, our third team is better than their third team. And I think ultimately it just didn't really matter.
No, it doesn't matter. And it helps players like Elfrid Payton. Usually in the past, when we'd have players come in, the third team, it would be like, oh, who knows if these guys will actually be on the squad going into the year, if they're going to get any minutes. But you had Elfrid Payton out there who is going to be the third point guard, which is crazy because we talked about this last pod and I brought it up. It was weird. I know he doesn't get paid that much, but he's still a good, solid player, and he's going to have time, or he might not have time to really show that on the court this season. So how much that is going to bother him. It might not be anything. It might just be me getting too deep into my feelings about this thing. But I honestly think that even just seeing the box score and just watching it, I heard like their defense looked a little bit better this game, which is nice to kind of tighten that up going into this season. I know defense doesn't really matter in the NBA. I think I say that all the time. Who cares? When the game actually matters, then it does when the game actually matters. And I think the Suns have that, so it's nothing to worry about there. Just open shots the whole first quarter. When I was actually watching it on Twitter, just scrolling through Twitter, it was like open shot after open shot to really open the game. It just seemed like the whole game, it was that way. So to get Elfrid Payton in there, to have him and Cameron Payne going off too, it is insane. It just makes me feel so good all over that these are the 2 backup point guards for the Suns when we never had a backup point guard. We have the point guard and we have the 2 probably the best backup point guards in the league, right? I mean, of course you can say another name, but the duo like that to come in and help Chris Paul and even Devin Booker, it's kind of unheard of. I think it's something that's just really, really unreal with the Suns team.
Yeah, I mean, we are far removed from the days of Isaiah Canaan and Mike James, and I mean, we're so deep now that, again, it might not count, but it's just you'd rather see that than the latter. Imagine being a Portland fan. I was watching a link that somebody sent me on Twitter about following the Lakers defeat for the Lakers, I was watching a post-game show that had Robert Horry on it, so I instantly cringed. So like Robert Horry's doing post-game shows for the Lakers, like, oh my God, fuck that dude. But they, even though it's the preseason, they were expressing how worried they were because of that reason. They don't know how their depth is going to translate. And if you think about the Phoenix Suns in the past, and you go back to, about 3 seasons ago, where, you have DeAndre Ayton as a rookie, you have Devin Booker, and you have some semblance of what this team is now, but there was no depth behind it whatsoever. And that's how you lose games. You can't keep a consistent quality product on the court for the entire duration of the game, and that's how you lose. And when you see a team like the Phoenix Suns roster who they're rostering and the development, it just, I think you mentioned this on the last pod. They're very Spurs-esque, if you will. They can simply plug in a player like a JaVale McGee, like a Landry Shamet into our culture now, and they fit in seamlessly. And you're starting to see those players even develop chemistry with, other second team players. I mean, who just said it in the chat? I think it was Blaze Megatron. He said our third team is better than a lot of second teams. Yeah. And that's why you win by 45 points. That's why you outshoot them, you outplay them on defense, you outplay them on both sides of the floor. Again, I'm glad that the preseason's over, because I want these things to count, because when you have a game where you win by 45 and it's in the regular season, you're just like, oh my God, this is good.
Yeah, exactly. And I was even thinking when I was watching the Mercury game, Dario Saric is on the sideline.
Oh, dude,
I'm like, oh my God, how many times noticed, we killed his career too, right? With the Saric smoke.
Hold on.
The Saric smoke break.
I had that lined up because I was going to say the same thing. I wrote in my notes. I'm like, Dario Saric is on the sideline with, you got Chris Paul and Devin Booker and Cam Johnson, Jay Crowder, and you got Saric is there right there with the team. I mean, even a guy who's not going to be playing this whole season is still a part of this team and still displaying the culture. He's not like off somewhere, just hanging out trying to recover. He's still right along here with his team, cheering the Mercury, who are up 3 points with 24 seconds left, and Skylar Diggins-Smith is just trying to dribble the ball out for a little bit with this last possession. I'm going to actually call this one Smith. She's got the ball. She goes left. She crosses over. She goes right. She takes it to the basket. She shoots. It's in!
That really happened? Or you just
that really happened, 91-86.
Cool.
Dude, I love Skylar Diggins-Smith. I think she's fantastic.
She plays with a lot of passion. It's like, you can see it in her eyes, dude. She's just so focused, and it's almost like
well, watch it. They're gonna cut, because I know you're delayed. They're gonna cut right after she makes it. There's Devin Booker taking a picture with like an old, like a flash camera, not a phone. It was
that's his thing. That's his thing. The old electronics.
So retro, man.
He is, and it's gonna come back, because where do you go from here in life? You have to go backwards. So everything that is cool is backwards. So, and Devin can just do whatever he wants.
What a play by Diggins-Smith.
Oh, there's that camera, dude. I remember buying it for my mom for
I know, like 20 years ago.
Yeah,
it's a why. It's quite some time ago. But back to the Suns game. Speaking of Devin Booker, he did play in this game. He had 17 points in 18 minutes. He's going to be just fine. And we talk about the expected growth for Cam Johnson and Mikal Bridges entering this upcoming season. What should we expect from Devin Booker in year 7, Matthew?
See, that is such a good question, because the growth is like the biggest thing I think everyone's focused on, right? Going into the season from everybody that's so young, the young core. And you kind of think right now it's like Mikal Bridges might be like the young core piece to lead everybody into like the season and just the development, all of that. And he's a guy you can count on to really develop. Now it's like Booker, he is coming to a season, I think you said last pod, is like he's going to be his peak years, right? He's starting this next year to where he's pretty much gathered all this play, all this experience, everything that he needs to really go into this next season to be a complete player. But I honestly think he can be even better, and he could, but it's like sharing the ball too, to have the time to the minutes, like actually having the ball on the offensive end when you have DA, when you have Mikal Bridges now who's handling the ball. Is he going to have the time to really develop even more on the court? I think he could, but honestly, it's always his leadership for me. His plays there, he's proven in a lot of situations in the playoffs where he can come through. he's that guy to where we don't have to worry about like a LeBron that might fail in the playoffs and might fail in the finals, might let your team down. He's not that guy. So the leadership thing is the one thing that I seriously think he improved on last year, and he can continue to be that guy. It's almost like him and Chris Paul are like holding hands, and Chris Paul slowly letting go over these next few years to where Booker can be that leading guy. And Chris Paul needed to be that guy for Booker to be that. So that's what I'm focused on, man. And I think that you'll see a lot more of the leadership this year.
Yeah, I think, it's funny you say that's like Titanic at the end. It's like Rose and Jack.
Bit,
it's like never let go, never let go. And, slowly Rose is letting go of Jack as he sinks. And that's Devin Booker sinking into the leadership part of his career. No, I think that, you're right in we will see growth in his leadership. We will see growth in his game and his focus, which is impressive considering like he's already playing and focus at such a high level. But I think that the experiences that he gained, not only making the playoffs finally, but navigating all the way to a game 6 in the NBA finals, that is unquantifiable experience that he received. And not only did he receive that experience, but everyone around him did as well. So it's not like he's, like Jay Crowder was last year, the only guy in the entire NBA finals who had any finals experience. He now has a crew around him that shares the passion that he does and shares the heartbreak that he does. How will it translate to the court? And that kind of is the big question. It's year 7 for him, right? Year 7 for Michael Jordan, beat the Lakers in the NBA finals for his first championship. Now, I'm not saying he's Jordan by any means, but he is entering his prime, and he now has that playoff experience, and he has that team around him. The only challenge I think that lies ahead for Devin Booker relative to growth statistically is I just don't know if the Suns are designed for him to break Tom Chambers' franchise record of 27.2 points per game. But if he does, he'll be in MVP conversations because this team will be winning and he will be scoring 27 points plus a game in an effort to do so. I hope for growth from the 3-point line. I think that's the one area of opportunity for Devin Booker always is to improve his 3-point shooting because it'll really open up other aspects of his game as well. If you can hit that deep ball, all of a sudden defenders are going to have to play you a little bit tighter, and he can get around players and get to his different spots. And we know that he's got a million different spots. It's not like he's driving to the hoop, with one thing in mind, and that is I have to finish at the rim. No, he can do pull-ups. He can do fadeaways. I mean, he can stop and you can run into him. I mean, he can do so many different things. So while we are focused on Cam Johnson and Mikal Bridges, knowing that you need those ancillary players to increase their growth and their productivity this year, it's still going to be very interesting to see how Devin Booker navigates the NBA with success under his belt and how the NBA adjusts to him now. He's not that player on a bad team who just goes for 70 at the Garden and walks away with an L in his pocket now. He's a guy who has a reputation for being an elite scorer. He's an all-star, a 2-time all-star now. He's somebody who is in the NBA commercial saluting Kobe Bryant, so people automatically equate Devin Booker's performance to that of Kobe Bryant. So defenses are going to be keying in on him, and it's going to be how he adjusts to those different looks that he's receiving and how he elevates those around him. And to your point, Matthew, how he leads this team.
Yeah, and the way that everyone is looking out from the outside, all the Phoenix Suns fans, of course, know this team will be back in the playoffs, be a finals contender. But everything else you hear from the outside is basically, they're overlooked again. A lot of people are not picking them to go very far. A lot of it's luck from last year, and that's fine. They can do that. So then, I mean, they're probably going to think the same thing about Booker, but they can go two ways. They can either think like, hey, like it was lucky last year, and now he's surrounded by a good team, right? Now he has a good team around him. So the MVP conversation, I think, is going to be very, very hard because of how good this team is and how filled and stacked it is. When you're going against guys like Luka Doncic, of course, who has really nobody on his team and probably have a good season, that's going to be tough because he has such a good – and I honestly think the point thing I'm not too worried about in the 3-point shot. It would be so nice because he would be so unstoppable. But the way it was like two things last year I noticed where I kind of stopped thinking about, hey, Book, get better at the 3 or take your foot off the line when you're shooting the 3. I stopped getting worried about that and the DA layups. Those two things I just got used to. I'm like, okay, as long as the team's winning, I don't care how the ball goes in or where it goes in from. they're playing as a complete team, and I think that's
Mm-hmm.
all he's ever worried about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ever since he came to the Suns, is playing as a team. So that's the one thing too that he has over a lot of these players that are going to be in the MVP conversation is he's a complete teammate. So that I would rather have that than anything else.
And he's on a complete team. You know, Luka Doncic
Yeah.
is going to put up MVP type numbers because he has to, because that's what it's going to take for the Mavericks in any way, shape, or form to be successful, you know. And when you look, you know, if Nikola Jokic is to repeat his MVP, he's going to have to do the same thing because now he's down Murray. So, I mean, there's just, you know, when it comes to Devin Booker, we need to have the same expectation that we did for DeAndre Ayton last year. And that expectation was, hey, don't get caught up on the statistics. Watch the game, see how he's playing. If he's lost in the sauce and he's not leading his team, and you know, I just don't want, and I don't think that Devin Booker will revert back to, you know, pissed off Booker, getting a ton of technicals, things like that. He's still a fiery guy. He can't help it. But I think that he's going to have more moments of clarity and more moments of calmness because of his experience and the leadership that he displays. Real quick, shout out to the Mercury. They did win the game 91-86. That was fantastic. Yeah. Yep. All right. Game 3. So they are now tied in the WNBA finals against the Chicago Sky. And I'm sure if I was listening to the broadcast tonight, they would have talked about how great everybody was but the Mercury. But shout out to Brittany Griner, the GOAT, Diana Taurasi, and Skylar Diggins-Smith, man. I mean, the Mercury are just fun to watch. I got to get me one of those Diggins-Smith jerseys. She's a badass.
Yeah, I was thinking about, well, you know how I am with jerseys. I always say I'm going to get one. I never do. So it'll be a couple years before I get one. You know?
Yeah.
It'll take a while.
Yeah, I mean, you're just now starting to watch it. So I do want to give some love to Bridges. I feel like the last couple podcasts on the post-game pods, we'll sit there and we'll go through our jam star of the game. And we're like, oh, yeah, by the way, Bridges had a really good game tonight, you know? And, you know, I didn't watch the game either. I was working, but YouTube has these things where they call full game highlights, and you can watch them. They're 10-minute long videos. So I watched that, and the first thing that I noticed, Mikal Bridges had the first 6 points of the game, and that's all he had was 6 points. He had 4 assists and 3 rebounds, but those 2 3-pointers that he had just looked different. It looked that, you know, they weren't just, one was a catch and shoot, but the other one was like, you know, he caught the ball, he dribbled to his left, and then he popped one. And again, it's those little things that we're looking for when it comes to Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, Jay Crowder, you know, the ancillary pieces of this team. It's those little areas of growth and additions to their game that are going to make them more effective. I just wanted to say, shout out to Mikal Bridges.
Yeah, dude, him and Cameron Johnson, like they're going from baby food basically to like solid food right now, and they just want all of it right on their tray, right? They look like they want to do everything on the court right now. When I didn't get to see any of this game, the last game, they just have something in them where they're trying new things out of practice. They've been working this offseason on it, and they just want to show out. They want to just have that confidence in their new game, and I just want to see it follow through. All right, they have the potential to really, really increase their game on the offensive end. So let's see if it actually falls through to the season. I think it will for sure. They look like they're ready to go. They're just so ready for this, man.
Well, and then of course there's my guy, and you know who my guy is, right?
Yeah, Dario Saric.
No, man, fucking Landry Shamet.
All I can say is Sham. Wow.
Shamet, Landry Shamet gets his own segment on the show right now. I'm absolutely Sham. Wow, this
no
guy.
one saw that yet. So we have to make sure no one took that yet. The Sham Wow segment. That's pretty good, though.
I don't care. We got it on here. I'm into graphic, whatever, man. But I mean, Landry Shamet in his first game coming off the bench, fulfilling the role that he will have the entire season. 12 points in 15 minutes, 4 for 6 from the field, 3 for 5 from downtown, 4 assists, 1 rebound. Again, Sham, wow. This guy's going to be fire. He's the guy who I am really looking forward to seeing this year. I like what we got. Brian, I assume that's Brian Catano in the chat. He says Matthew has Cam Johnson and John has Landry Shamet. Let's go. You know,
yeah, he was the one that drew the artwork last pod.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, that's him. Yeah, and I had a hard time with his first name, but
and then he says Cam Wow. We should make one that says Cam Wow too.
I like the Cameron Johnson one we got. Lights, camera, and action. So
yeah, we can do that drop.
Lights, Cameron, action.
Credit
Let's
to
just roll the drop.
Credit to Jamster Scott Lacey for making that one for us. But you know, again, it's just I think that, and that's our second team unit, and then the other guy who I'm absolutely loving, I haven't made a drop for yet, is JaVale McGee. JaVale, the way that he's playing right now, it gets me excited. 10 points, 5 boards in 15 minutes today against the Portland Trailblazers, and he's living in the paint, and it's going to be nice having a presence in the paint when DA's on the bench. And he and Cam are really starting to develop a strong chemistry. There's a play where Cam Johnson pump fakes the ball, starts driving to the hoop, and what does he do? The defender closed on him, so just a quick little bounce pass to JaVale McGee, who just 2 games ago did a nice little bounce pass to him. They're really starting to develop a lot of this chemistry, and that's from our second team unit. So I mean, again, it's these little things that I know in the grand scheme of things of preseason, you can't get overly excited about, but you're pleased to see them. I'd rather see them than not see them.
Yeah, and I don't know if we've ever mentioned this really with JaVale McGee. Like, his birthday is January 19th. So he's like a Capricorn.
Of course.
Capricorn.
This guy's Capricorns.
But, I mean, he's lovable, man. He's compassionate. He'll do anything he can to help this team. What does he have? 3 rings, right? He has 3 championship
that's correct.
rings.
That's correct.
So, I mean, he does anything he can to help this team win. And you were talking about Shamet before. The pieces that James Jones grabbed to actually fill this lineup, it's so weird to just think like just how much I do not know about basketball, because I'm just saying, because like you look at Shaman, you look at McGee when they come in here, I'm like, yeah, that's good additions. Like, we wanted McGee for forever, but when you see it on the court, you're like, oh my God, this makes so much more sense. So he can just see it unfolding before we can actually see them on the court. It's insane to watch these guys and how good they just play together, man. And they're just all in it together. They're all having fun. I know DA wasn't at the game tonight, so I don't know what's going on there, but
I'll tell you what, though, he was at the game today and he was hitting those middies. I mean, he was dropping 12 footers like it was nothing,
for sure.
So I mean, he's continuing to develop, and I'm looking at the roster. There's only one. So I'm a Libra. My birthday is actually this upcoming Sunday.
Yeah, it is.
Yes, it is. This is a fact. And there's only one Libra on the team. Do you think you can guess who the Libra is, Mr. Astrological Signs?
Yeah. Is it it's Devin Booker, isn't it?
No, he's October 30th, so that makes him a Scorpio.
Oh, I knew he was October though. Who is it? Is it it's not Chris Paul, is it? Who is it?
No, it's Abdel Nader.
Oh, okay, very cool, man.
September 25th, whatever. I was hoping to be Booker.
It was close. You know what? I go by
Booker's
months.
a typical Scorpio, though. He really is.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Yeah, whatever. I can tell. I have a sister who's a Scorpio and a brother who's a Scorpio. They're both dicks. So, I mean, Coda Kid. So birthday live stream? No, we will not be live streaming on my birthday.
Is there a game Sunday?
No. This is it.
No,
Friday, and
and then Wednesday, right?
Yep, Friday we're gonna do our preseason Jammy Awards.
Mm-hmm.
We'll mention this again at the end of the pod, but we'll be getting together for the Jammies, and then next Wednesday a live stream after the season opener. So it's gonna be fun. Can't wait.
Yeah,
can't wait at all. You know what? This is a good question in here. Let's see. I saw it. Ted Lubin, who's a loyal listener of the show. I don't understand why JaVale keeps moving around. He's a great player. Why hasn't a team locked him up? And here's why I think, and then Matthew, I'll allow you to retort.
Yeah.
I think, one, you take a look at JaVale McGee and you start with his age, right? He's what, 33, I think. He's about to be 34 sometime this season. And you look at that. Yeah, so he's 33. Yeah, he actually went to Nevada University. I'm in Reno, the home of UNR.
That's strange.
Wow, crazy stuff. But I think that one, you look at his age. He was a late developer in his career. He's not somebody who really dominated off the bat. He played for some bad teams. Playing with Washington for a while, played with Denver. But he's always just kind of been like a role player guy. He's that typical. His attitude trumps his talent. His affinity to be a team player trumps his ability on the court. And, we'll see him do some great things and we'll see him do some dumb things this season. But I think that he's never truly garnered a massive contract because he just doesn't lack the consistent ability to put up, the points. I mean, he did get a nice extension with the Denver Nuggets at one point. I mean, he was making $12 million with the 76ers, but, now he's kind of down to that veteran mid-level exception, if you will.
Yeah, he's not really he's not a staple, obviously, of some team. He's not going to be the guy there for a long time. He's a really good backup player, a really good backup center, and that's something that the Suns lack for a while.
And he's ours.
So, yeah, and he's ours, which is crazy because we haven't had one forever. But I honestly think that the way he is in the NBA, it's nothing bad or anything. You know what I mean? A lot of these guys, moving around is not a bad thing. I'm sure he enjoys playing with good teams because every time he goes to a new team, it's a championship team, basically, right? The teams that are very, very good in the NBA need him on their team. So that's a good position to be in for McGee. Even if you're not like a LeBron or a Chris Paul or anything, staying somewhere for a long time, it doesn't matter, man. This guy's getting paid. He's doing what he does best. He doesn't have a lot of focus on him, right, as to be a starter in the NBA anymore. So he can be the backup guy and be a leader that way.
No, I completely agree. I mean, that's who he is. Somebody's always got to fulfill that role effectively, and he's done it to the tune of 3 different championships. Yeah. Looking at the team that lost in this game, the Trailblazers, 74 points. What are your thoughts on the Blazers this season?
Well, we talked about this probably before. I mean, when is Nurkic going to get hurt? I don't know if there's going to be any trade rumors, but like I think Damian Lillard, of course, is probably going to stay for who knows how long. But looking at them, it's like it's not enough still. It's still not enough, and it's really depressing for me because I like the Blazers. I love Damian Lillard. I want him to have an opportunity to be on a really, really good team. I know they were close to the finals a couple of years ago, but it's just they knew that they needed something else, and they just haven't gotten it. And it's hard for someone to go to Portland, right? I just think this team has a lot of upside, but they just don't have enough to compete with like a Phoenix Suns team in the playoffs or a Lakers or a Clippers team. I mean, the Clippers might not even be healthy. So you throw someone else out there, like, I don't know, who else is good in the West? Everybody, right? Utah, not even
Denver,
Utah. They can't
Golden
even compete with them. So it's a long, long year, I feel like, for them, just kind of drawn out, unless they can get someone at the trade deadline.
Yeah, it's an interesting roster construction because, one, I'll start off with this when it comes to the Portland Trailblazers. The Portland Trailblazers run into the same issue that the Phoenix Suns do, in which the national media is pining for our star to want to go to a place like New York, yet our star has never said anything remotely hinting at any discourse like that. Dame Lillard has never said anything negative about Portland. He wants to be same things as Devin Booker comes out of his mouth. I love the city, I love this fan base, and I want to retire here. And you always, when the offseason hits, the first thing that anybody starts talking about is like, well, where's Dame going to go? He's got to want out now. They continually keep losing in the first round. They made the Western Conference Finals a few years ago, but outside of that, it's first round exit after first round exit after first round exit. But you know what? Dame Lillard is the Portland Trailblazers and vice versa. So I think that's the first thing that, people need to understand about that team. It's like, listen, he doesn't want to go anywhere. He signed the max. People, Ben Simmons for Dame. It's like, yeah, you can play GM on the ESPN Trade Finder all you want. Dame doesn't want to go anywhere. So what the Trailblazers are always trying to do in the offseason is build around Dame. And I think that the number one challenge that they have is when you look at their starting lineup this year, center is Nurkic. Their power forward is Robert Covington. Robert Covington is a very good defensive player, but he's not a power forward. He's 6'7". He is a really good small forward, a great defensive small forward, but you start him at power forward because you have Norman Powell as well, who again is kind of like Robert Covington light, in my opinion. And then you have CJ McCollum and Damian Lillard. So you have a backcourt that can't defend, and then you have two players who are good defenders, but are, one of them is definitely out of position. And then you have Nurkic, who, as you mentioned, is definitely injury prone and not known in any way, shape, or form for his great defense. He can play defense. He's big, but he doesn't have very good lateral movement. So you look at kind of what they've done, what the Blazers have done in this past offseason. They bring in Chauncey Billups. They say goodbye to Terry Stotts because he couldn't win because it's clearly his fault that the general manager didn't construct that roster properly. They bring in Larry Nance Jr., they trade away Derek Jones in that 3-team deal that involved Larry Markkinen, and they bring in Larry Nance Jr., who is a really good. He could be your starting power forward, but because you have Robert Covington, you're paying him so much money. Larry Nance Jr. has got to be your 6th man. They got Anthony Simons and Dennis Smith Jr. to kind of back up Dame because they need playmaking from that position. They got Ben McLemore, Cody Zeller, and then it's just kind of Nasir Little, Quinn Cook's on the team, and I just again you take a look. If you take a look up and down the roster and you could just go, you know what? This was a video game. It'd be great because the offense is fantastic and I can score all over the place. There's no defense. There's no consistent defense.
No, there's not. But honestly, the difference maker is Nurkic. And if he would just healthy, they'd be there probably towards the end. They probably would be because they are actually a threat. When you have a player like Damian Lillard, anything's possible.
Exactly.
You just need a guy down low, especially now in the West, right? I mean, everyone has a center now. So it's tough with them, man. I just don't think they're going to be healthy enough to actually last that long.
Yeah, therein lies the problems. Ted says in the chat, he says Blazers would have been real tough the past couple seasons if Zach Collins had stayed healthy.
I like Zach Collins.
Agreed. I did too, but again, the kid just couldn't stay healthy. And Blaze Megatron says if Robert Covington isn't a power forward, then neither is Jay Crowder. Come on, Voida. And that's a fact. Jay Crowder is a small forward as well. He's not, but again, he's a guy who kind of like Covington can play bigger than his size. On both ends of the floor. Well, on one end of the floor. He can't play.
Yeah, and Covington played in Houston as a center too. So for a while.
Yeah, but I mean, again, they have this commitment to that small ball style, but they don't have true depth behind it. Behind Nurkic, if you got Cody Zeller, I don't know. I just don't know if that's necessary a recipe for success. But we'll see. I know that we did our preseason kind of up and down look at the West. And I think we both agreed that Portland is a team that does have an opportunity because the rest of the team is, the rest of the Western Conference is iffy in spots. You don't necessarily know how Golden State's going to perform. You don't know how Denver's going to perform without Murray. You don't know how the Clippers going to perform without Kawhi Leonard. So it will be interesting. So, and Suns Brazil, I see you. I got your DM. You said, when you publish the subtitles, please. When you publish, put the subtitles, please. I can automatically translate and watch. Sunny hugs. Love your videos. If I knew how to do that, I would.
Yeah, I was looking at that too yesterday. And I was like, I don't know how to do that. So
I was messing around with it earlier, but
do it.
I tried. But Scott Lacey, is Ben Simmons still a Portland rumor? No, Ben Simmons reported to camp, and we'll see.
Yeah, but it's still iffy. I don't know. I think he'll probably end up getting traded for sure. I think they were at a wrestling event in Philadelphia, and the whole crowd was chanting "Fu Simmons."
Yes, they were. Yes, they were. The fan base just doesn't like him. It's an
Embiid town too.
And he hasn't helped himself in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Last thing before we get to the Jam Star, did you see Marquise Chris is on the Blazers?
Yeah. I saw that. Yeah. Yep.
Oh, Marquise Chris,
the next JaVale McGee. Moving around.
Yeah, but not winning any championships along the way.
I'm sure he does.
Jam Star of the Game.
All right, Jam Star of the Game. It's the time where I cut off Matthew mid-sentence with the drop. It's a reminder to anybody who's listening to subscribe, rate, and review. And if you're watching, let us know in the comments who your Jam Star of the Game was for the game today against the Portland Trailblazers. That 45-point drubbing that the Suns put on the Blazers. Matthew, who's your Jam Star of the Game?
It's got to be Alfred Payton. Alfred. I said Alfred. But
you did say Alfred.
I'm thinking about Batman. I don't know why, but I think he was for sure. I mean, the old triple-double coming back to Phoenix, so you like to see that. And honestly, I just like to see the depth. And he's the first guy when I was reading the box score, I'm like, dang, dude, look at that. I mean, I didn't get to see him play, but I know when I'm looking at him on the box score, I know the effort's there. I know he is going to own his role and hopefully maybe get some more minutes down the line. But right now, playing in preseason, getting those minutes that he can, he's showing up, and he's showing that, it's not even really it's not a thing for Phoenix to really worry about signing him for the minimum money he's making. And then just coming out there, he's going to prove that he can be a guy that can really just help out Chris Paul. And I'm so excited for that still. Again, this is the second time I said that, but seriously, this is something that is just really exciting. And I'm just happy to see it.
It's so funny because this is you last year. You're saying the same exact things, but it was Javon Carter's name instead of Alfred Payton. We're not going to see Alfred Payton.
Carter. Yeah, the Javon Carter thing. How long did that last? Maybe it just lasted till
it lasted until you realized campaign was good.
Gosh, how long? Yeah, did it last a long time? I'm sorry,
no,
man.
Not really.
But I think it was Brandon from Locked On. He was like, yeah, it was me and Javon Carter's mom are his biggest fans. Yep. Yeah. He's totally right. But I still think Javon Carter fan. Well, I miss him, dude.
As am I. But at the same time, in reality, we're not going to see a bunch of Alfred Payton minutes this year. He is my Jam Star of the Game. And you do want to see what he did, nearly get a triple-double when the opportunities do present themselves to him. But I don't say, oh, you know what? He's so good that we need to cut campaign's minutes down. We need to find more minutes for EP. EP will play when EP needs to play. Outside of that, we're not going to see him. And about a month into the season, you're going to be sitting there and you'll be like, man, I really want Elfrid Payton to get some minutes, It's like
at least I didn't write like an article about it or something. You know what I mean? I think he's still good. I think he's better than Devin
I
Carter,
do too.
honestly.
But
he can
he's
do more with the offense.
But he's the third best point guard on this team, and that's fine. I'm glad that we have him there. I don't imagine him playing very.
But yeah, and Javon
minutes.
Carter, I mean, obviously you know why he wasn't that good and wasn't used that much, because he couldn't just run the offense and do a lot more than shooting and maybe throwing a nice setup pass or something weird. Nothing was there, but Elfrid Payton has a lot more than that. So I think he'll get more minutes.
I don't. We'll see. All right, how about this? Over under
30 minutes a game.
yeah, I was about to say, like, over under total minutes played this season. We'll do that another time.
Okay. All
right. You ready for the next segment?
Let's do it.
Ayton watch.
All right.
Wait, hold on. So is this here to stay, Ayton watch? Because you just redid the graphics.
I just redid the graphics for it. You know, it's all. We'll do it when it's necessary,
and it's every game.
And it's damn necessary after comments that were made in an interview that he had earlier this week with Dwayne Rankin. I'll go ahead and I'll play that interview for anybody who has not heard it as of yet.
Came out as far as your talks and then being stalled and contracts and all that. What's your reaction to that, and how are you feeling about it right now?
I mean, I love Phoenix, but I'm really disappointed that we haven't really gotten a deal done yet. I mean, we were two championships, 2 wins from a championship, and I just really want to be respected, to be honest. Just be respected, like my peers are being respected by their teams, and just keep it like that.
Okay. Are you confident though that something will get done?
I just let them handle it the most professional way possible and just control what I can control.
Because it seems like you're still obviously with your guys and yeah.
Of course, the relationships I want to will never change, regardless of whatever the outcome is. At the same time, you still got to come in and work. There's a job to be done in. It's to win games. And the team we have, we still have a goal and a task at hand that will never change.
So there you go. Ayton watch using or DeAndre Ayton for our Ayton watch using words like disappointed and he's not getting respect and things of that nature. So obviously that sets off a string of, everybody's reactions on Twitter. Everybody's worried now. We have until October 18th to get this deal done prior to the season beginning. I'll let you go first, Matthew. What are your initial thoughts when you hear DeAndre Ayton say what he did and where the Suns stand and where he stands, and just everything that's going on with DeAndre in the contract situation?
Well, I think Justin said it best on Twitter. So says Jay, where it's something that basically he was told to say by his management or whatever. What do you call him?
Agent.
Agent. Geez, his agent tells him what to say. That's what he has to say, and you hear that all the time. It doesn't make me worried at all. I think there's something more to it though, with the way they're taking their time on this thing. It is strange that it is taking so long because you thought it'd be done by now, but I guess we got to be patient. But when nothing's going on, you have to focus on the one thing, and they're going to keep asking him about it. So throwing that out there just to say, disrespect, I guess, yeah, it is disrespectful, but there's just things that probably they're seeing behind the scenes. If this is true, this is just me going inside my mind even deeper, probably then I shouldn't. But it's probably just things like, hey, yeah, you showed up in the playoffs, all right? This is not me. This is just probably maybe something they're saying. You showed up in the playoffs big time, all right? You really, really did. Can you do that all season long? Last season, he couldn't, right? That's probably what they're scared about. They're probably scared something about the work ethic or something like that. That's what I'm thinking inside, deep inside, not really just like I'm thinking about it all day, but it's just something that I think about that they might be saying to him. It's like, dude, you have to put in the effort and all that. So maybe that's the thing that's going on. If not, then fine. There's probably something else that's going on that we don't know about, but I just think it's a weird situation. But he'll get paid. And then honestly, if it's not the max, if it's something shorter of the max, is that even more disrespectful to him to not give him the full amount of money
because he has to accept it. So if he accepts it, then you accept and move on. You know what I mean? So it's not like they offer him something less and he does accept it. Then it's like, okay, but if it is something less than the max and he doesn't accept it, then yes, there is an issue there. So, I get what you're saying, and I'm kind of in the same realm. I'll put on my looking at this through, of the fans' eyes and the Suns' eyes, if you will. We know that DeAndre Ayton is an emotional player. And we obviously don't want this to affect his emotional state, which ultimately will affect his play. And if he's saying things like disappointed and he's not respected and things of that nature, those are feelings. Disappointed is a feeling. Not feeling respected is a feeling. And if that translates to the court, like, yeah, we obviously have a problem. But, at the same time, like, I understand where Phoenix is on this situation. And I'm not going to play the Robert Sarver's cheap angle. I'm playing this is a big-ass decision angle for the Phoenix Suns. So let's start with the max centers in the league and their role on the offense, okay? Rudy Gobert, is he a primary, secondary, or tertiary player on that offense?
He's primary.
See, I would say he's secondary to Devon Mitchell. Or to Devon Mitchell? No.
We always do this with Mitchell's name.
Donovan Mitchell. He's secondary. All right, Nikola Jokic, is he a primary, a secondary, or a tertiary?
He's primary for sure.
He's primary, and sometimes he could be secondary to Murray. Joel Embiid.
Primary. When he's healthy.
Yeah. Karl Anthony Towns.
Primary.
Okay. So you look at that, and where would you say DeAndre Ayton is? Primary, secondary, or tertiary?
Oh man, it's fourth. Tertiary, does that mean fourth or third?
That means third.
Yeah, more than that.
Yeah, exactly. So on offense, yeah. And again, those are the 4 centers in the league who are max players. Okay, so then you look at that. Phoenix currently has 2 max players. How many teams in the league have 3 max guys, Matthew? Take a stab.
3.
Okay, who do you think?
Luka Doncic, Stephen Curry, and LeBron James.
They're not on the same team.
Oh, on the same team?
How many teams have 3 max guys?
Sorry, I got like an email really urgent from work, so I had to look at it really quick.
We're in the middle of a goddamn podcast and a good discussion, and you're like, "Well, hold on."
It was an accident. I glanced over for a second.
How dare you?
So yeah,
how many teams have 3 max players?
I don't know, just one. Just spit it out. Sorry, man.
Well, I was just saying, just take a guess.
No,
there's 5. There's 5. Okay, there's 5. There's the Warriors who have Steph Curry, Clay, and Andrew Wiggins. He's on a max. The Nets who have Harden, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant. The Lakers who have Westbrook, James, and AD. And the Nuggets who have Jokic, Murray, and Porter. Of all those players, those 15 players that I named, how many are centers? 1. And how many are tertiary option at center? None. So that's the landscape. Okay, now obviously the landscape and the lens that DeAndre Ayton is looking through is, well, let's look at, my peers. He says in that interview with Dwayne Rakin, he's like, well, I want to be respected like my peers are. Well, his peers are the class of 2018. And there's currently 4 players who've received a max. Can you guess who they are? Or should I just say it?
Just say it. I'm not good at guessing. So
okay, Luka Doncic, Trae Young, SGA, and Michael Porter Jr. Okay. So he's looking at that, and how many of those are centers? None. Now, again, none of them have made the finals. Only Trae has made a conference finals. So again, you kind of have this uneven playing field to navigate. And again, with Phoenix, I can understand why they might be playing some tug of war with Ayton in his camp relative to what that final number is, what the incentives are, what the kickers are, things are that, because they want to ensure they're getting the proper level of return on their investment in DeAndre Ayton. Now, that being said, I am still, on the other side of that coin, and that's the side that I live on. When it comes to DeAndre Ayton, there's one thing you need to do.
Pay him. Pay that man his money.
Pay him straight up, because when you do pay him, the thing is, the money doesn't hit till next year, and you're not going to have 3 max players for that long, especially considering how CP3's contract is structured. DeAndre Ayton has earned it, in my opinion, based on his performance in the finals. Again, knowing that he's an emotional player and this could affect his performance this season, just get it done. I know we're 5 days away. My assumption is it will get done. Again, that's why I'm not overly worried. And again, if it doesn't get done, we do have, it's not the end all be all. Of course, it'll be a continual topic. This happens in, all the time. I think Zion Williamson, when he comes up and he doesn't sign the max right off the bat, this is going to be the biggest story in ESPN, as well it should be, because he's not going to resign in New Orleans, and I don't think he should. But I just don't want that cloud hanging over the season that we're so excited for. And I think that's the one thing that a lot of, people naturally gravitate towards the negative. And when you hear words like disappointment, which has negative connotation to it, when we have all these great things about to happen for the Phoenix Suns, and you have this one negative cloud over here, everybody's like, well, let's go look at the cloud over there instead of all these rays of sunshine that is, preparing for the season. But I'm not overly worried about it. I do think he needs to be paid. I think he will get paid. And then once that happens, then we can start to have those Mikhail talks and how that's going to occur. And again, none of this money will hit till next year. So you might have a year where you're in the luxury tax. Oh, fucking well. It's worth it with this young core.
True. Yeah, you can't ruin it by that. And honestly, I think that DA, I know you say he's emotional and like on the court, I think he's gonna play the same exact way, whether he gets paid or not. Is that weird? I just think
because he has like Chris Paul and Devin Booker out there who are gonna make him play the same way.
It's like, we're gonna give you this money, and then what if something happens where they leave? It's like, you know what I mean? Could we trust you to be some guy that's consistent out there? And that's the thing that I always think about too. And I know he earned the money. It is scary because it is a lot of money, dude. And I'm sorry I wasn't listening earlier, dude.
Well, no, but
it's an accident.
It's okay. It's like Scott Lacey says in the chat. Lucy's dedicated. You're dedicated to your craft.
Second. It said urgent. It was from my CFO, and I'm like, oh my god, did I forget something? And I was like,
I asked you a question, and you just gave me like a wrong answer. You're like, yeah, those three guys, they're max players.
Well, I always answer wrong anyway, so it's no different.
This is true. I just love asking you random questions. So
yeah.
Before we get into other stuff, what did I tell you to remind me about at the end of the pod?
Ooh, TV shows, right?
TV shows. So
yes.
Obviously I'm on the road a lot these days, living from hotel room to hotel room. Is there anything that you're watching that I should be watching? Like, I still have to catch up on all the Ted Lasso. Like, I got through probably the first 5 episodes of the season. I'm going to watch it. You can't tell me not to watch it.
Second season? First 5 of the second season?
Yeah, okay. First 5 of the second season. Okay. So I haven't, I need to catch up on that. But is there anything else out there that you or the Jamsters who are watching along live, I need to kill time? Like, I'm in the hotel room. I'm, now, granted, I'm tired at the end of the day. That's probably why I'm not writing as much, Dave. I'm sorry, but I'm on a computer all damn day programming point of sale systems right now. It's super boring fucking work. So I just want to watch something. So what do you got?
All right. So first of all, the second season of Ted Lasso sucks. I hate it. I stopped watching it. I could not stand it. It turned into something that it just wasn't in the first season. I was like, what is this? It became more of like a sitcom, and they're just trying to be too funny with things. I didn't like it. I love the first season. I love the first season a lot.
Yeah.
Second season I can't stand. I know a lot of people are probably gonna say like Squid Game in the chat.
Yeah,
I watched the first episode of that.
Okay, what'd you think?
I didn't like it.
I was thinking about it. How many episodes is it?
I don't know for sure. I didn't like it. Maybe because there was so much hype and I went into it and I was let down. I'm not a big Netflix guy. Like the Netflix shows, I can't get into. I just think they're not as good. Like once you go to HBO and other platforms, it's not as good. So I think I'm not watching anything right now, man. I have a hard time getting into anything. So I'm like the worst person right now to ask.
Well, you normally have some decent suggestions. I mean, you're the one who recommended Afterlife, but then when you told me you're like, I've watched it like 6 times, I'm like, oh, it's okay.
That was a little too much.
Scott Lacey in the chat says Goliath on Prime. I need to maybe check that out. I haven't heard of that. Silicon Valley from Brian.
You watched that, right?
Silicon Valley's forever go to. Yes, I've seen every episode of that. It's fantastic. D. Leon says, if you haven't seen Barry, I would recommend that. I love Barry. That's a great show.
Oh, Succession starts
Sunday. Yes. Yeah, but I'll be home for that. Like, that's my birthday present. I get to watch Succession. Maybe I'll watch the last 2 episodes of that because I forget what's going on. But that's Succession's. But that's a me and Shannon thing. Like, we'll watch that together because we love that show. Sopranos. Yes, I've watched all the Sopranos. Barry's is the tits. No, I agree. I definitely agree.
Sopranos. I'm actually rewatching Sopranos again. I didn't watch the new movie yet. I just got into the Sopranos, and now I just have it on in the background sometimes. So
yeah, it's fantastic. So okay, well maybe I still gotta watch. I still gotta watch the end of Ted Lasso.
I don't think there's anything good out right now.
But knowing that you didn't like it makes me know that I'll like it because we generally have different opinions on these kind of things. So
we do. There's nothing good. Hollywood is basically, it's just done with. I think they're not putting out anything new and good. I know Squid Game's good, and that's in China or Japan. Sorry, what? I forget. I don't remember. I only saw 1 episode, so I don't know. So, but I just don't like it. So.
All right. Well, fair enough.
Very negative Matthew over here.
If you would stop looking at all your goddamn emails and actually paid attention to the pod, So let's see what else we got before we get out of here. One thing I want to bring up, Pick Watch. Okay. This is something that we're going to be doing. It's us versus Fanning the Flames this year. So there's a website that you can go to. It's NFLpickwatch.com. And it's a place where I make all my NFL picks and whatnot, and they just released NBA the ability to pick NBA games there. No money, nothing like that, just a place to track picks. And we know in the past that, like last year, for example, Matthew beat me by 1 game. He got 35 out of 35 out of 56 right, and I got 34 out of 56 right, picking against each other. And this year, we're actually going to pick against Fanning the Flames. So what we'll do is, we did it last year where we'll make a pick who's going to pick the next or who's going to win the next Suns game. Fanning the Flames is going to do the same thing. And that's where we're going to log our picks on NFLpickwatch.com/NBA. But it's us versus them. So that being said, Matthew, the first game of the season is 1 week from tonight, Suns versus Denver. Who, as a podcast, should we pick to win that game?
Oh man, gotta go Suns, right? Well, is Jokic's are his brothers going to be there in the crowd?
Oh yeah,
that's a good point. Booker? Is that going to intimidate Booker? I don't think
nothing intimidates Booker.
I don't think so either. Not with that. But I'm gonna go with the Suns, man. So
okay.
This is gonna be
that's our official pick. I'll lock it in on NFLpickwatch.com.
Okay, let's do that.
It's on you, Fanning the Flames. Best of luck there. Let's see what else we got. We got the Jammies coming up on Friday night. So join us live. What time you want to do that? 8 p.m., 7 p.m. Probably.
Yeah, we can do the 7. Yeah, it's 7.
We'll see.
Yeah, 8. It doesn't matter.
I'm like, let's do it. You're like 7.
We'll dress up nice, right?
There you go. I'm on the road. I'll be like wearing another Sun shirt.
Okay.
But yeah, so the Jammies, the preseason Jammies, where we give away all the our different awards. So be sure to tune in for that. Let's see. Anything else I want to talk about? I feel like there was one other thing I wanted to. We're looking for one more draftee. One more person for the Suns Jam Session Listener League. So to all of those of you who have reached out to us and said you were interested, thank you for doing so. That draft is on Monday night. Oh, the last thing I want to talk about. Did you listen to the Over-Unders Bill Simmons podcast?
I did. I listened to the whole West, not the whole East, though.
Okay, I listened to the whole East and only the beginning of the West. That's what I'll finish listening to tonight.
Okay.
Just one comment I want to throw out to you, and I don't know why I don't do this like offline. I decided to ask you these questions like live on a podcast, but who cares? Bill Simmons wants the Mavs and Luka Doncic to be so good, doesn't he? He wants them so bad.
Oh my God.
It's so funny. Like he'll sit there. You got Ryan Russillo and Joe House telling him all the reasons why they want to suck. He's like, yeah, but like, Luka, he's just like, he wants Luka and the Mavs to be so good, so bad. It's so funny to me.
And you know why? He wants him to win so he can finally just say, like, see, like, Phoenix made a mistake. Because he always gave Phoenix, like, kind of a leeway. Like, hey, like, you got Ayton, the Arizona guy. He's a good center. He's not a bust. But now if he were to win, he just hates Phoenix. It's a thing with Phoenix, I think. I think that's what it is.
It's because we proved him wrong.
Really right on Luka Doncic, too.
That's what it is. He wants to sit there and say, I planted my flag on Luka Island before everybody did. And, and they're telling him, they're like, yeah, but no part of that team makes sense outside of Luka. No part of that team doesn't make sense.
Unless Luka changes his whole game. I mean, Luka's amazing, man, but he'll have to change a lot to really accommodate the rest of them. And they do need another piece. I don't care about Porzingis. He's not going to last the whole season. I want him to. I don't want these players to get hurt.
Yeah, of course, but he doesn't fill his role properly. Like he wants to be like a 2 guard.
No one wants to play with. I don't think the thing that's going to be said, and we can, we'll record this right now, right? It'll be out there for everybody. I really think that Porzingis will maybe ask out. Last season I didn't think it was going to work, but I didn't know that Porzingis had a hard time just playing with Luka, and Luka might be a guy that no one really wants to play with. He might be that guy, and it's not like a Michael Jordan thing where everyone hates him, or maybe it is. But until he actually starts winning, then anybody will play with him. But until then, I think it's gonna be hard for him to find a good teammate that's a second guy.
Yeah, that's what they're not even making much of an effort to try to do that right now. They didn't make any really big offseason moves. They're just trying to run it back. And I think it's because they invested so much draft capital and everything into Kristaps Porzingis, and it's not paying off in any way, shape, or form. So it's funny. Listen to this, Bill Simmons just try so hard and try to.
He didn't even try though.
But he wants everyone to believe him, and everyone's like, dude, like just look. You watch basketball, don't you, Bill? Like you have books on this shit. So
yeah.
One last question I saw here. From Brian. Question for John. What Star Wars show are you most excited for? Boba Fett, Kenobi, Koshka, or Cassian? Definitely Kenobi. That looks like it's gonna be fantastic.
I didn't know those were coming out.
Oh yeah, man, on Disney Plus.
What's it on? Oh, Disney Plus. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, Boba Fett is gonna be nice, but I mean, after watching The Mandalorian, we've definitely gone down that kind of avenue, if you will. But Kenobi, just having Ewan McGregor come back and play Kenobi is going to be fantastic. So,
oh wow,
well,
be nice.
All right. On that note, ladies and
Pay
gentlemen,
him. Pay that man his money.
I'm gonna
Such a
watch
good movie,
I'm gonna
man.
watch Rounders tonight.
You should. I
love
want
that
to watch
movie.
it now too, and I didn't see it till like 3 months ago. Remember
Oh
for the first
man,
time?
yeah, that's right.
Such an awesome movie.
Such a good movie. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Well, thank you ever so much for joining us for this, our last preseason post-game podcast. Again, we'll be seeing you on Friday night for the preseason jammies. And then this time next week, we'll be live after the Suns' first game of the new season. Until then, this is a reminder. Make sure you subscribe, rate, and review wherever you're listening. If you're on the YouTube feed, please hit the thumbs up button. And you know what? If you are listening, go to the YouTube feed and hit the thumbs up button as well. Until then, I'll see you guys on Friday. Have a great evening.
Yeah, everyone go home and read your family's emails.
Take care.